Okay, I'm going to hand off the mic to Dr. Woods, and we will start the open session recognitions.
Good evening, everyone. This is our favorite part of the meeting, our recognitions. We have three groups to recognize this evening. Up first, BVMS, our Emerging Artists Gallery at the California Center for the Arts in Escondido. Miss Lisa Lozowski, our Vapatosa, is here to read off the names.
Good evening, everybody, and absolutely right, Dr. Woods. This is the best part of the job. And I'm going to read off the names, but before I do that, I want to introduce you to the amazing teacher who's responsible for this amazing artwork that you get to see. So I'd like to call it Mrs. Katie McGinnis.
Okay, so some quick background. The California Center for the Arts in Escondido has an opportunity for students to submit artwork and be put in their professional gallery if they're approved by the museum board. So we submitted 16 pieces and they were all accepted. They were in there for most of the fall, and we got some really awesome feedback to the point where we even had people asking if they could purchase our students' work, which is like the best compliment ever. So I am so, so proud of them.
I am told that when they found out that they couldn't purchase it because it was student work, they wanted to know who the teacher was and if she would come and teach at the gallery. So congratulations to all of you. You guys did an amazing job. All right, here we go. So I'm going to call out your name, and then if you want to head over that way, you will get your certificate. You can shake Miss McGinnis's hand, and we'll get your pictures. All right, so here we go. Aaliyah Blythe. Jake Baum. Isabella Guzman. Haley Hubert. Katarzyna Lee. Lirong Ma. Aaliyah Martinez. Jade Mason. Madison Maringo. Kalisa Mutu. Maddie Moya. Samantha Rodriguez. Jocelyn Serrano. Ava Trench. And Jaden Ware. And board, you'll see Emily York's name up there also, and unfortunately she has moved out of the district, so we're missing her, but she did a great job as well. So yay, Emily. Congratulations to all of our Bella Vista Middle School Silver Hawks. There we go. All right. Do you want me to stay for the second one? Yeah. All right, at this time, I would like to call up Mr. Mike Tapley from Temecula Valley High School. He's gonna get ready to celebrate a couple of awards there.
And we're gonna bring our students up too.
Okay, that's fine.
We only have 2 of them.
That's true.
Can we hear the poem? Excuse me.
You want to go on one? Both sides, one on each side. Good evening, school board and cabinet. My name is Mike Tapley, and I'm a TVHS English teacher and creative writing teacher. I'm here tonight to honor 2 of our amazing creative writing students, and Sophia Martin. Both students are editors for our school's literary magazine. They often read their poems aloud during our monthly poetry readings and wow the students with their words. Recently, both students were honored as Riverside County Teen Poet Laureate finalists. This prestigious competition involves submitting up to 10 pages of poetry, and Brooklyn and Sophia were chosen as finalists because of the insight and heart they express through their words, and also the creativity and the skill of their poetic style. Sophia was also a finalist last year, and this year was chosen as the first runner-up for this Teen Poet Laureate competition. Let's give a round of applause for Brooklyn and Sophia. And take pictures over here.
Parents are invited to join in too, yes. This is a big honor. Just so you know, all of the kids whose poetry is selected gets published in a chapbook. So they are published authors now. Yeah, I can actually send you guys the website that has the link to the chapbook so that you can see their poetry. That would be great. And you may be wondering why VAPA is presenting this. It's because poetry is a work of art, so it's part of it. So congratulations to all of our emerging artists tonight. Thank you so much.
And now for our final group, the distinguished principal of the Gold
inspection that they had was exemplary. And it couldn't happen without these two amazing instructors, Lieutenant Colonel Michael Good and Master Sergeant Lucretia Knight. Come on up, you guys.
Oh, you want me to say something? Oh, all right, I can do that. Good evening, board. Everybody in attendance. Is there any way I can get that timer that I've seen online? I want a time. I want the countdown. They know I'll be here forever if I don't get a timer. We appreciate the principal's support. Ms. Leone has been phenomenal with anything that we've needed, always checks on us, asks what we can do. When I came up to her and told her towards the beginning of the school year that we were having what in the Air Force we call a major emotional event, an actual inspection, a formal inspection, she said, whatever you need, let me know. And she came through for sure. With this particular year's inspection, it had been 5 years. We're supposed to have one every 3 years. The nice thing about having one every 3 years is that means your freshman class, the year that you had an inspection, will be your senior class when you have your next one. So they kind of know what's going on. Not having had one for 5 years, none of these cadets here had an idea. And our program, whether you know it or not, is what we call a cadet run program. So while the Master Sergeant and I provide some oversight and some direction on occasion, really it's the cadets that are leading the preparation, leading each other, corralling the help that's needed, and getting the unit in the state that hopefully it's in to receive the rating that we received, which is, I don't want to say it's rare, but it's hard to get and exceed standards, which is the highest rating possible. So these three, thank you. Really thank them. These three cadets here are the ones really backed by a talented team of other cadets, but the three that primarily led the effort. Cadet Caitlin Hall, Cadet Major Caitlin Hall is our, what we call our Inspector General, so the one who really oversaw all of the moving pieces of the inspection. The commander at the time, our highest ranking cadet in the Corps, is Cadet Lieutenant Colonel Jayla Taylor. She oversaw, of course, everything. And then our current commander, who is heavily involved in the process, is Cadet Lieutenant Colonel Adam Graff. So these three cadets did a phenomenal job, and too bad they're leaving us. They're all seniors, because they won't obviously be here for the next one that we have. But really, really, really good work. And they're, of course, supported by their awesome family right here in the second row. So we thank you for the opportunity, and we thank Ms. Leone for recognizing us.
Thank you, and I see some airborne wings there. Go airborne. Is that aerosol, or are you a jump master, Master Sergeant? I can't see, I'm half blind.
Which way are you pointing, sir?
Oh, right there. Are those wings? Is that aerosol, the airborne right there? I can't.
No, sir, that would be my husband with the airborne.
Oh, good. Oh, yeah. Go
But
airborne.
I am actually communications here, so Dr. K, I see what you did. You put me on the spot to say something. See, I wasn't even gonna talk tonight. But I am so grateful for the opportunity to be here. I'm very grateful for our principal and administrative staff at the school. Like the colonel said, without their support, we wouldn't be able to do many of the things that we do. But I'm gonna go ahead and turn in this direction because I promised a mom that I would also highlight the fact that on tonight, our very current commander, Cadet Adam Graff, just turned 18 years old today. So I'm gonna take all the thunder from me and put it on him and his family back here to support that. So leaders lead even on their birthday. So we are very appreciative to our young cadet staff here. So thank you all for the
Thank you.
opportunity.
Until everybody clears out, and then we'll start our open session again. Thank you again for coming.
This is a call to order. The regular meeting of the Governing Board of Education is called to order by myself, Dr. Joseph Komorowski, at 5:59 p.m. on Tuesday, January 16, 2024, at the District Office Conference Center. Go through. Okay, in attendance, we have the Governing Board, Mrs. Allison Barclay, Dr. Joseph Komorowski, Mr. Stephen Schwartz, Mrs. Jennifer Wiersma, Secretary of the Board, Dr. Gary Woods, Mrs. Lene Anna Seabar. And now we have for the Pledge of Allegiance, cadet from Great Oak High School, Andrew Anderson. Please lead us in the pledge. And the mic should be good.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much, Andrew, and I'm going to give you your certificate. And also, do we have a Wyatt Gates here? I'll be presenting to you too, young man. You led us twice before the new year. Thank you so much. If everybody can give him a round of applause. I remember we didn't have anybody. All right, items considered in closed session for action in open session. E-1A, I call for a motion and a second to approve the recommendation of the administrative hearing panel regarding the following student expulsion manner. 219390, suspended expulsion. Do I have a motion and a second?
Moved.
Moved by Mr. Schwartz,
Second.
seconded by Mrs. Wiersma. And Lene, would you mind calling roll?
Barclay?
Yes.
Schwartz?
Yes.
Wiersma?
Yes.
Komorowski?
I have to recuse myself, so we have motion adopted 3-0. Or, sorry, not 3-0, but 3 and then 1 accused. Accused. Okay, let's see. Readout of action taken in closed session. Closed session began at 4 p.m. The Board of Education took the following action in closed session. And there are 3, and I'll have Mrs. Wiersma read those out.
It was moved by Member Schwartz and seconded by Member Barclay to approve the final settlement and release agreement for case number OAH 202-3090611. It was moved. Oh, and the vote was 4-0. 4-0. It was moved by Member Schwartz and seconded by Member Barclay to approve the settlement agreement for case number OAH 202-3100450, and the vote was 4-0. It was moved by Member Schwartz and seconded by Member Barclay to approve the settlement for case number 30-2023-0130-CU-PO-CJC, and the vote was 4-0.
Thank you, Mrs. Wiersma. Okay, recognitions, announcements, school-related organizations. Before the board meeting began, the board recognized our BVMS, California Center for the Arts, Emerging Artists, our TVHS Teen Poet Laureate Award students, and TVHS AFJ ROTC Exceeding Standard Inspection Cadets. Now we have the student spotlights, and first I'll welcome up from Chaparral High School, Jillian and Ellie. Welcome up.
Okay. Good evening, Board President Dr. Komrosky, Dr. Woods, board members, and cabinet members. My name is Jilly Herron.
And I'm Ellie Majorinet. Thank you for having us. We are glad to be back on campus after winter break. It's nice to see our fellow Pumas and Puma staff.
Hey, did you hear? The Chaparral Puma Pit was voted #1 in the entire nation. That's like all 50 states. We are so proud of this. We are so proud of this huge accomplishment and how far our school spirit and culture has grown as a whole. The Puma Pit has 100% changed the student section game, and we are so excited to keep growing and keep winning the national title.
Varsity basketball plays tonight at Vista Murrieta. Girls play at 5:30 and boys at 7. Come out and support your Pumas.
Girls water polo has just been named Temecula City champs, taking first place in league.
Soccer plays Vista tonight as well. Boys varsity is away at 7:15 and girls varsity is at home at 7:15. The next game is Thursday against Mesa. Hope to see you there.
Second semester club rush is this week. We are hoping to get all students involved in at least one club to build more social emotional bonds between students and their common interests.
Middle school visits is on February 6th. This is the first time in years being all 8th graders on campus. We are looking forward to campus tours spotlighting sports and clubs for incoming freshmen, as well as presentations by counselors and a rally.
We will be holding Spring Showcase on February 8th, which will highlight our classes, clubs, electives, and sports for all incoming freshmen and current students as well.
We have also seen improvement on SEL and academic achievement through increased CAS scores.
Thank you for having us. See you next time.
And remember to keep it classy, Pumas.
Thanks, Jillian and Ellie. Next up, from Great Oak High School, we have Alyssa and Madison.
Hi, my name is Lindsay Camilia. I'm Cole Vasquez. And I'm Jake Riches. And together we are the student body presidents at Great Oak High School. Not only do we represent the student body at JOHS, but we also represent the 342 students that are part of our 9 different sections of leadership. And we're super excited to show you how great Great Oak is.
Once again, we will use our core values of scholarship, passion, integrity, reflection, involvement, and teamwork to share with you the great things that are going on at Great Oak. Starting off with scholarship, our AP and IB programs will be very busy this spring. We're proud to say that we have over 1,000 students registered to take 2,129 AP exams, 200 more than last year, and almost 300 students registered to take 527 IB exams, 100 more than last year. Great Oak has also awarded Mr. Nevins as Teacher of the Year and JT Trevino as our January Student of the Month. Last month, our large math club competed in an international competition, a contest which covers the entire high school curriculum, aside from calculus, and has a participation of about 50,000 students every year. Charles Zhang had a perfect score of 150. Alberto Catofoya, Seth Edmonds, Matthew Gonzalez, and Nicholas Jepson all qualified and are preparing for the next round of examinations on February 1st.
Over winter break, the Spirit of Great Oak traveled to Italy, where they performed in Frascati, and then in Rome performing in their annual Christmas Whirl and New Year's Day parade. Nearly 155 students and supporters traveled to Rome. After representing Great Oak and Temecula in the parade, the performers had the opportunity to visit Pompeii, the Vatican, and all of the sites in Rome.
An area that we continue to put emphasis on is being at school, and our students continue to make improvements in attendance. A 1% increase is significant, and the following attendance reports represent efforts put in over the course of 3 years at Great Oak High School. In the image, one will find data spanning from the 2021 to 22 school year to the present post-COVID-19. This past year, we had a 1.15% increase, and we're sure it will continue to improve.
The National Federation of High School Association selected our cross-country and track coach, Tammy Drawn, as the California Coach of the Year. We are thrilled for Mrs. Drawn and the amazing coach and teacher that she is. Great Oak also wants to highlight our PTA reflection winners, Caitlin Rydell for visual arts and Zachary Hunt for literature. We are also extremely proud of our principal, Miss Ricken, for getting CIF Champions of Character Award.
Our Science Olympiad team began competitions this past week, and they are determined to be one of the best in the state. Mock Trial begins competitions next week and is looking forward to building on its Elite 8 appearance last year. Academic Decathlon will be the only school representing TVUSD. They are looking forward to a strong finish this year with a full team.
We are proud to report that our athletic department won 4 of the 8 league titles, including girls tennis, girls golf, boys cross country, and football. Our winter sports are off to a great start, with GOHS doing very well in boys and girls soccer, basketball, and wrestling. Thank you for listening, and we can't wait to be back next month. And as always,
have a great Oak Day.
Thank you, Elisa and Madison. Next, from Temecula Valley High School, we have Alicia and Nick. Welcome up.
Good evening. We are so pumped to be back again for the second semester. For those who need a refresher, I'm Alicia.
And I'm Nick. We kicked off the semester with our Glow Zone themed winter rally. We highlighted many of our winter athletics, recognized a few of our clubs, played games with our winter season team captains, and enjoyed our dance groups, Haka, Ohana, Swing, our Alliance dance team, and Cheer. They enlisted the help of some of our staff members to perform a short dance with them. Each staff member got a moment to show off. It was a crowd favorite.
In a couple weeks, we're distributing our academic pins to all those students that earned a 3.0 or better on the report card. It's an exciting way to recognize so many students. Lots of students wear them on their Letterman jacket or put them on their backpack, showing off their accomplishment. Last semester, we handed out 1,900 GPA pins and 400 improvement pins. We couldn't be more proud of our fellow students. We will also be honoring our principal's honor roll students from the end of the first semester. We brought the pins from last year for all of you. Enjoy the Spider Bear, the Infinity Paw, our Guardians of the Galaxy pin, our Perfect Attendance pin, and an explosive comic pin. They're a fun keepsake.
Next month is our Golden Buzzer Talent Show on February 2nd in the Golden Bear Theater. It's a spoof of America's Got Talent while allowing so many students to show off their singing, dancing, and musicianship. Sometimes we got a few comedians and other creative talents.
You're familiar with Unified Sports. We're excited that next month, TV is hosting the Bocce Ball Tournament on February 9. We invite you to come back and enjoy a game or two. Our Unified Sports team has been doing immensely well. They got a huge round of applause at the Winter Rally last week as they ran out of the Bear Cave.
With students beginning their course selections for next year, we've got our academic fair during lunch on January 24th and 25th. This is a perfect opportunity to help students determine which classes they want to take in the future, with feedback shared from current students and teachers. It allows them to see all the unique classes our campus holds, such as biosustainability, regenerative agriculture, sociology, comics as literature, film studies, our dual enrollment courses, all of the AP classes, and other electives.
Coming up, we're bringing back a winter formal. It's on March 2nd, which is technically winter still, but doesn't seem like it, so we're calling it the formal. It's for our underclassmen. It's a new event this year that is something for our freshmen and sophomores to look forward to for the second semester. There will be a DJ, activities, games, snacks, and different photo booths. It will be a roaring good time for TV's class of 26 and 27.
Last Friday was our annual Battle for the Belt, where high school wrestling teams across the state came to compete for the belt. We have 4 wrestlers in the top 8th place: Justice El Salada, Cameron Phillips, Gabriel Lemons, and Marvin Morton. The winter athletic season is in full swing. Basketball at home twice this week, playing tonight across the street. Both boys and girls basketball are fun teams to watch, always playing hard and always keeping it close. Girls soccer is off to another impressive start against more highly ranked teams.
Pichanga is hosting the Battle of the Burgers this Saturday. Our culinary students will be there to assist the chefs and help serve in the delicious competition.
Opening on February 7th, Drama presents the comedy Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead. This is their senior-directed play, which is all about 2 minor characters from Hamlet. Come show your support.
That's all we have for this month. Thank you for having us back again. And as always, I'm Alicia.
And I'm Nick.
And stay golden.
Thanks, Alicia and Nick. Awesome. Next up, from Rancho Vista High School, we have Anthony and Caitlin.
Good evening, board members and cabinet. I'm Anthony Marquez.
And I'm Papa Ago Anderson. We're from Rancho Vista High School, and we're delighted to speak about various events such as school events, early grads, and more.
So far, we're off to a great start of the new year with our third quarter and our 40 new students from various high schools.
Jumping back to December, we hosted competitions such as the Winter Wonderland competition, where we had our advisory classes compete to make the best winter-themed gingerbread house. Congratulations to Ms. Shanahan's advisory class for winning.
We also had a school-wide decorating competition where our advisory classes had the option to decorate and compete to the top cookie. And our winner was none other than the amazing, spectacular, talented Anthony Marquez. I really wish I could meet that guy.
So do I. We have some exciting news to announce. On December 20th, we had 10 students graduate early from Rancho Vista's new proven success quarter system. We're sad to see them go, but we're happy to see what the future holds for them.
Currently, our school is going through the WASC accreditation, or Western Association of School and Colleges. During this process, Rancho came up with a new mission statement, which is, "It is our mission to partner with all the stakeholders to foster the development of our diverse student body into productive citizens who value learning, communicate effectively, think critically, take personal responsibility, develop a personal path for success, and demonstrate integrity."
And last but not least, on February 22nd, we're going to host a blood drive in our school, which is going to be supported by live stream. Our last blood drive was a success as we collected over 50 units of donated blood. We are hoping to make this blood drive a success, and we can't wait for the blood drive to happen.
Thank you for your time, and have a great evening.
Thank you so much. I apologize for the name there of the edit, Anthony and Papa. The edit wasn't made until I got you guys up here. Thank you. Okay, so next on to public comments. How many do we have? Oh, wow. 5. See you guys. Public comments are an important part of the board meeting, and they're given careful consideration by the board. Public comment is restricted to items listed on the meeting agenda or otherwise within the board's subject matter jurisdiction. All comments will be limited to 3 minutes for a maximum total of 30 minutes. Unless otherwise determined by the board does not take any formal action on items during public comment or on any item that has not been placed on the published agenda in accordance with the Brown Act. Public comment provides members of the public with an opportunity to speak to the board. Accordingly, public comments are to be directed to the board only and not to the audience in attendance or to the individual audience members. Hate speech, obscenity, or other conduct during public comment that disrupts the board meeting from proceeding is prohibited. Similarly, conduct by audience members that disrupts public comments or any other aspect of the board meeting from proceeding is prohibited. Attendees who disrupt this meeting will be warned and removed in accordance with the Government Code Section 54957.95. Jason Vickery will act as my designee for the purposes of Section 54957.95, and we have posted our expectations on each side of the room. So that attendees can easily access them. Please feel free to refer any questions regarding our expectations and procedures to Mr. Vickery, who will be happy to assist you. And finally, let me see. No, that's it. Okay, so we have 5 comments. I'm thinking 3 minutes apiece. Everybody? Yep, one name.
First up, we have Christine Massa, followed by Jean Femia.
Thank you. Dr. Komrosky received a letter from my attorney last month demanding a retraction of his slanderous comments about me at the November meeting during his board comments. Since you did bring it up, Dr. Komrosky, allow me to correct the record. A Chaparral student was verbally accosted right before the October open session by Dr. Komrosky's wife. Other parents, teachers, and students gathered around to protect the student from Mrs. Komrosky's further attacks. Security Chief Jason Vickery was not in the room when this occurred and only entered after I called security and his staff got him. Mr. Vickery then escorted Mrs. Komrosky to the back of the room, which is captured on video. Dr. Komrosky completely miscategorized the event during his closing comments in November, telling mistruths about the student, Mr. Vickery, and me. With 2 active lawsuits against you, Dr. Komrosky, I find it hard to believe that you would invite another. But I now turn my attention to Mrs. Wiersma. Feel free to leave, since that's what you usually do. And 2 troublesome posts on your district Instagram account. The first is from January, where you are dancing in the streets to commemorate that recall signature results were not filed against you yet. The operative word is yet. Your recall effort is not over. Recall papers can easily be refiled, and recall supporters we already have thousands of people to go back to get a new set of signatures. Videos of you pridefully gloating will be extremely helpful to our efforts. Another post I'd like to reference is from the December Chaparral Gym groundbreaking, which I have already contacted you about with no response. Although you claim to be focused on child safety, you continue to post your individual videos of TVUSD students on your Instagram against TVUSD policy. When a parent opts into TVUSD media policy, they are consenting only for the district to take and share videos, not individuals. I have asked you before, when you have shared videos of my children at homecoming, to please take them down. I asked you again when you shared images of my children that you personally took at the groundbreaking to take them down. Yet you, the safety advocate, do nothing to address this and put our children at risk. Jamie Evans was already there taking legitimate district-sanctioned video. There was no reason for you to post your own, especially since the effort you were commemorating is largely due to the efforts of your predecessor, the very much missed Barbara Broche. I hereby request that Mrs. Wiersma's phone and any recording equipment she has be confiscated from her whenever she enters a campus to prevent these policy and safety lapses from happening, and would like to know how to make a formal request for this. Mr. Arce, I'll be contacting you. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Jean Femia, followed by Christy McClure.
Good evening. My name is Jean Femia. I hope you all enjoyed the holidays and that you're looking forward to the new year. One thing that may happen this year is a recall election for a member of this board. Some 5,200 signatures were collected and turned into Riverside County in December asking for that, and in another week or so we'll find out whether it will happen. At your December meeting, I heard 2 people say that the folks behind the recall are all leftist liberals who had to lie to get those signatures. There aren't that many leftists in trustee area number 4, and no lies were needed. So who are those 5,200 people who want a recall? They're patriots like me who wave flags at school board meetings. They're the young father that I walked precincts with who voted for you and now feels betrayed by your actions. They're the middle school teacher who taught here for more than 20 years who told me, I'm still teaching the same things I've always taught. They're my friend at work whose 3 kids have all gone through TVUSD, one of them still in high school here. He and his wife are devout Christians, and he was one of the first people to sign the petition. So these are people who value good governance, they value fiscal responsibility. These are people who want nonpartisan trustees, trustees who don't push political notions and invite lawsuits. I realize that you no longer have the majority on this board, so you won't be able to pass the kinds of extreme policies you did last year. I suggest that you now review those policies and modify them to reflect the whole community. As you make decisions over the next few months, please remember those 5,200 people who signed the recall petition. They are not the people that some speakers portray. They are your reasonable neighbors who simply want to see real improvements to education here in Temecula. Thank you.
Thank you.
Christy McClure, followed by Riley.
Happy New Year, everyone. I'd like to request that this year the board focus on meaningful resolutions that solve real problems that impact our students. This last year has been a lot of focus on personal issues, political grandstanding, and religious ideology. Let's focus on running a public school district. How about we figure out how to pay for a crossing guard to be in every crosswalk in the district in the morning and afternoon for pickup and drop off? It's like 2 hours a day for every student to be safe. Do you know why I think this is important? Because a month or so ago, my child witnessed one of her friends get hit by a truck in a crosswalk, a block from school. Do you know who was in that crosswalk helping out? Nobody. The crosswalk 2 blocks from the school, which has a 4-way stop sign, does have a crossing guard, but the crosswalk 1 block from school that does not have a stop sign on every side has no crossing guard. Do you know who helped this child walk to school for the last block? Who carried her things for her while she wheeled her broken bike? My child. Do you know why? Because not a single adult helped out. Nobody stopped, nobody made sure she was okay, nobody walked her to school. She was in shock when the driver asked her if she was okay, and she said she was fine, and he left. She was not fine. By the time she got to school, her ankle was really hurting. She had some other injuries. This child needed medical attention. This child needed help getting to school, and not a single adult within a block of the school helped, let alone prevented the accident from happening. I'm really glad my child did, but that's not her job. Joseph, you claim to have fulfilled your campaign promises, announcing mission accomplished while holding a campaign flyer at a recent meeting. How about stopping kids and vehicles from getting into accidents in front of our schools? Wasn't this your big issue, Jen? About school safety, accidents? I haven't seen a resolution from you or any funding to meaningfully change things. The child is fine. She saw a doctor, she was at school the next day. I am not here to sensationalize this. This is just a personal, real-world example of how this board can and should do better. Thank you.
Thank you.
Riley, followed by Josh.
Hello, board. First of all, I just wanted to thank you guys for the work you have done the past year or so, I guess, that you've done for the school district. And I just wanted to clear something up. Last board meeting, I played an audio of someone lying to get signatures. And since there seems to be some confusion about whether or not they did lie, I thought I would play the audio again. So I'm going to play it real quick for you guys. This was outside of MSJC on November 13th of someone getting recall signatures with about 3 other people surrounding her, getting ready to sign it.
No, they didn't. You're lying.
I'm lying.
Yeah, you are. I go to every single school board meeting. She's lying.
I'm at the school board meeting planning right
They did not ban LGBTQ clubs.
Yes, they
You're
did.
wrong. No, they didn't.
Okay, what about the flags then?
What? They banned any flag that's not the California state flag or the United States flag.
But why?
These teachers were being political in class.
Okay.
Why are teachers being political in class? They're paid with my tax dollars.
It's
They
the
shouldn't be
students.
being political in
You think
class.
the teachers are the ones bringing the flags in? It's the students. The students are not.
But the teachers are still hanging up those flags on public grounds. Although those students might have bought the $12 flag on Amazon, those teachers are still hanging it up on taxpayer-funded buildings.
Okay.
So they did not ban those clubs.
Yes, they did.
And well, there you go. She said yes, they did. And I haven't seen any resolution passed in this board in the past year, which you two have been elected, and when Danny was here, of anything being passed of banning an LGBTQ club. So that was a flat out lie in order to get recall signatures. So there were lies that fueled this recall. Thank you.
Thank you. We have one more
Josh,
speaker. Yep.
Shirley.
You pledged transparency and parental involvement. But at the last board meeting, you removed the chance for the teachers and the classified union leaders to be able to speak at every meeting. Doing so in a very non-transparent way. You used a discussion mechanism. You put the bylaws onto the agenda, said you were going to modify something, and then I'm guessing the plan for the whole thing was to discuss your way into removing their speaking time. You altered that policy without us, the public, having any kind of prior notification. I would consider that parental notification. It's evident that hearing from Edgar and Andy, it displeases you. Despite their representing thousands of teachers and classified workers like my wife. Your decisions have disproportionately affected the teachers, making them discontent. It is your policies that is the burden on them. They're the ones who have to enact the things that you guys decide here. Of course they're unhappy. But your union leadership are the people that are the mouthpieces for all of them. Parents like me who know nothing. I don't get district emails. I don't know what's going on. There's no month that I don't want to hear from those people. They're important. Classified staff are so vital to our district. Some of the most important ones are our crosswalk attendees. We can be doing better for them. Specifically, they should have radios. They should be able to be a part of the security team that if something goes wrong, they can radio into admin, into the office, or even to law enforcement when something happens. But I know my wife is friends with one of the crossing guards. They don't have a radio, and they're told we don't have the money for one. You guys can fix that. Please continue to support our teachers, our classified staff, negotiate in good faith. Please do the best you can. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Okay, now we're on to consent calendar. All matters listed on the consent calendar are considered routine, and all will be enacted with one voice. There are no discussion of consent calendar items unless members of the governing board or staff request that specific items be removed from the consent calendar for separate action. I don't think that recalled when we approved the agenda, but if so, any board member want to pull one?
There were none.
Okay. So I call for a motion and a second to approve by consent items 1 through 32.
Moved.
They were not pulled. Oh, we have one speaker, Mr. Schwartz. All right.
Oh, sorry.
Do we know what item? We have a speaker on number 5, so we'll welcome up that speaker now. Warrant list, December 2023 purchase orders, contracts, direct payments.
Christy McClure.
Hi. There are a couple items on the warrant list that I'm confused about. An $8,000 expense for environmental testing, and then a $3,500 legal payment to a Tyler LLC where there's no contract with that district, with that law firm or that name that we've seen. For the environmental testing item, could we get an explanation of what this is? It sounds a lot like it's related to the 5G resolution, and my recollection is the testing aspect wasn't approved, that it was already pulled from the last board meeting and it's not back at this board meeting as a resolution. And for the legal expense, is this related to the pro bono contract with Advocates for Faith and Freedom? Is that name related to them? Since that contract was passed as a sort of no-cost pro bono, and the district commitment to the contract is really all the way up until potentially a Supreme Court decision, in fact. Should we expect charges like $3,500 regularly? Can we estimate how much it's going to cost us in the additional fees every year? Pro bono is not the same thing as free, and there are a lot of expenses and costs that the district is going to have to pay for as a result of this contract. I've gotten up here and asked questions about the warrant list at a couple of meetings. I know it's annoying, but there has been no response and no explanation. You have an incredibly talented finance department in this district. Like, they're amazing. And I'm sure they can provide an explanation for anything and everything on the warrant list, especially legal costs or other items that aren't typically seen on a monthly school board expense. Right now, there is a lack of trust with this community and with this school board. Transparency and open, honest communication is a great way to build that trust. I know some folks think that you can't respond to public comments, but I believe that that's like right now, you can't respond to me and have this a back and forth dialogue, but that later on in the meeting, you can respond to public comments, that you're allowed to do that and have done that. I mean, if the CRT workshop facilitator can call me names later in the meeting as a response to my public comments, then certainly you could provide detailed, transparent explanation of costs in order to build trust with this community. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Any other comments on this? Just one.
Could I make a comment on the warrant list?
Yeah, we can have a discussion on it.
Okay. I had a question on the warrant list that I asked Mrs. Lash, and it was regarding the Tyler Law piece. And would you mind sharing that, Mrs. Lesh, what that expense was for?
Just to clarify, did we pull that one for separate action?
No.
Just a
No.
explanation. Isn't that?
Just discussion. We're just,
Don't
do
you
we
have
need
to
to pull
pull
it
it?
to
Yeah.
talk about it? Okay. Then I'll pull the warrant list for discussion, if that's okay. And then we'll
Totally.
just vote on the rest and then discuss it. Thank you, thank you.
Yeah, okay. So we will vote, do I have a motion, a second for items 1 through 4 and 6 through 32? Do I have a motion, a second to
I
approve?
moved
Moved by Mr. Schwartz,
Second.
seconded by Ms. Barclay. Lene, would you mind calling roll?
Barclay?
Yes.
Schwartz?
Yes.
Wiersma?
Yes.
Komrosky?
Yes, motion adopted 4-0, and now we're on to discussion for 5, which was pulled, and, yeah.
So this is regarding the Advocates for Faith and Freedom, and these are the fees for the court filing fees. So this is an open purchase order for up to $3,500 for those court fees as they come due.
Thank you, appreciate that.
So that's the first I've heard of it. I'll touch base during the break regarding which one specifically and then get more information.
And I'm going
on
to
that.
speak to that on,
Oh.
yeah, don't
Go.
worry, I'll
Okay.
speak to it on comments, yep. Do I have a motion and a second on number 5?
Moved.
Moved by Mrs. Barclay. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Wiersma. Lene, would you mind calling roll?
Barclay?
Yes.
Schwartz?
Yes.
Wiersma?
Yes.
Komrosky?
Yes, motion adopted 4-0. Okay, now we are on action items. Notice to conduct a public hearing of the Temecula Valley Unified School District, California School Employees Association and its Chapter 538, Tentative Agreement, Article 6, Compensation and Benefits, December 22nd, 2023. I call for a motion and a second to conduct this public hearing.
Moved.
Moved by Mr. Schwartz.
Second.
Second by Mrs. Wiersma. Lady, would you mind calling roll?
Barclay?
Yes.
Schwartz?
Yes.
Wiersma?
Yes.
Komrosky?
Yes, motion adopted 4-0. Thank you, Lene. On to action item 2, conduct a public hearing of the Temecula Valley Unified School District, California School Employees Associations and its Chapter 538, Tentative Agreement, Article 6, Compensation and Benefits, December 22nd, 2023. I call for a motion and a second to conduct this public hearing.
Moved.
Moved by Mr. Schwartz.
Second.
Second by Mrs. Barclay. Lene, would you mind calling roll?
Barclay?
Yes.
Schwartz?
Yes.
Wiersma?
Yes.
Komrosky?
Yes, motion adopted 4-0. Thank you, Lene. And now we're on to conduct a public hearing. This is the time and place designated for the public hearing to review and consider the tentative agreement, Article 6, Compensation and Benefits, December 22nd, 2023, between Temecula Valley Unified School District and the California School Employees Associations and its Chapter 538. I declare the hearing now open at 6:37 p.m. And do we have any discussion from the staff? Anybody else? Okay, good. I'm told to say that. If there's anyone who wishes to comment on the tentative agreement, Article 6, Compensation and Benefits, December 22nd, 2023, between the Temecula Valley Unified School District and the California School Employees Associations and its Chapter 538, a total of 30 minutes is provided so members of the public can address the board. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes each. If so, please state your name prior to making your comments. Do we have any public comments? No? Okay. If there are no more comments, I will declare the public hearing closed. Public hearing end time?
6:39.
I got 6:38 on the thing. 6:38. And now on to action item 3. Acceptance of the Temecula Valley Unified School District, California School Employees Association and its Chapter 538 Tentative Agreement, Article 6, Compensation and Benefits, December 22nd, 2023. I call for a motion, a second, to approve this tentative agreement.
Moved.
Moved by Mrs. Barclay.
Second.
Second by Mrs. Wiersma. Lene, would
Comments?
you- Oh, yes.
Yeah,
comments.
well-deserved. Glad that we could finally settle with the CSEA and give our employees the raise that they deserve. And we thank you all. I thank you all for your service and your dedication to our students and teachers. Thank you all.
Agreed. Happy
Yep,
New Year.
Yep. I couldn't agree more. Happy New Year. Very happy this is brought before us. Any other discussion? No? Okay, did we have a motion? I don't
Yes.
remember. Moved by Mr. Schwartz and seconded,
Moved by
Mrs.
Allison.
Was it Wiersma?
Allison and Jen.
Allison, you moved in, she, yep, sorry. Lene, would you mind calling roll?
Barclay?
Yes.
Schwartz?
Enthusiastically, yes.
Wiersma? Joyfully, yes.
Komrosky.
Yay. Happy New Year. Motion adopted 4-0. Oh, review board compensation, and we do have a board comment, or a comment on this action item.
Josh? Shearling?
This will be quick and just kind of off the cuff. When it comes to you guys, voting for your own pay raise, I'm good with it. It's not about the individuals that are on the board. It's about making the board position equitable for people in the community who would want to actually participate in governing. So thank you for the last agenda item. That was joyfully, I join you guys. Thank you. Treat yourself to a 5% pay raise. Thank you.
Okay, do we have any discussion on this one? I call for a motion and a second to accept and approve the tentative agreement articles. Sorry. I call for a motion and a second to approve a 5% increase to the Governing Board of Education stipend resulting in 51.73 per month per board member increase effective July 1st, 2023. Do I have a motion and a second?
Moved.
Moved by Mrs. Wiersma. Okay. No second. Action item dies. So we're on to number 5. California School Employees Association, CSEA, and its Chapter 538, and Temecula Valley Unified School District Memorandum of Understanding, revised classified job description, driver trainer. Any discussion on this one? Okay, I call for a motion and a second to approve CSEA TVUSD MOU, revised classified job description, driver trainer. Do I have a motion and a second? Moved by Mr. Schwartz.
Second.
Seconded by Mrs. Barclay. Lene, would you mind calling roll?
Barclay?
Yes.
Schwartz?
Yes.
Wiersma? Yes. Komrosky?
Yes, motion adopted 4-0. Thank you, Lene. Action item 6, revised classified substitute salary schedule 2023-24. I call for a motion and a second to ratify, approve the revised classified substitute salary schedule effective January 1st, 2024, unless we have discussion.
Yeah, well deserved. We've been wanting to do this for a while, and I'm glad we're able, glad we're able to raise the salary for our subs. They're a critical part of our staff. So I move the motion.
Moved by Mr. Schwartz. I couldn't agree more with what he said. Any other discussion?
Did he make the motion?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll second it.
Okay, seconded by Mrs. Barclay. Lene, would you mind calling roll?
Barclay?
Yes.
Schwartz?
Yes.
Wiersma?
Yes.
Komrosky?
Yes, motion adopted 4-0. Thank you, Lene. Yay, substitutes. Yep. 7, action item 7, Riverside County Office of Education, modification of Career Technical Education Services Agreement number IN 80000. Yeah, that's 50. Wait, oh my gosh, it's getting late. 8 and 4 zeros. I call for a motion and a second to ratify and approve the modification of the Career Technical Education Services Agreement number IN 840 between Riverside County Office of the Education and Temecula Valley Unified School District effective July 1st, 2023 through June 30th, 2024. Unless we have discussion, do I have a motion and a second?
Moved.
Moved by Mrs. Wiersma.
Second.
Second by Mr. Schwartz. Lene, would you mind?
Barclay?
Yes.
Schwartz?
Yes.
Wiersma?
Yes.
Komrosky?
Yes, motion adopted 4-0. Thank you, Lene. Action item 8, resolution number 2023-24/11 of the Board of Temecula Valley Unified School District to change order to Reed Family Enterprises Incorporated for the Chaparral High School Modernization Phase 1 HVAC project at Chaparral High School. I call for a motion and a second on this unless we have discussion.
Moved.
Moved by Mr. Schwartz.
Second.
Second by Mrs. Wiersma. Lene, would you mind calling roll?
Barclay?
Yes.
Schwartz?
Yes.
Wiersma?
Yes.
Komrosky?
Yes, motion adopted 4-0. Thank you, Lene. Action item 9, Temecula Valley Educators Association CTA/NEA initial proposal for successor contract reopener negotiations with the Temecula Valley Unified School District. Unless we have discussion, I call for a motion and a second on this one as well.
Moved.
Moved by Mr. Schwartz. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Wiersma. Lene, would you mind calling roll on this?
Barclay? Sorry. Barclay?
Could we have Mr. Arce just talk about this for 1 second before we vote? Is that all right?
Yeah.
Sure, absolutely. This is the sunshine process whereby TVA is providing the district and the community with its initial proposals for articles to bargain for a successor agreement.
So this is their proposal to us?
Correct.
Okay. And our vote is accepting that?
Is accepting that these are the articles that they are sunshining for proposal.
Okay, great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Arce. And for the question, Mrs. Barclay, do we have a motion and a second?
We did.
We did. Oh. I need some iced tea. Lene, would you mind
Yes.
calling roll?
Barclay?
Yes.
Schwartz?
Yes.
Wiersma?
Yes.
Komrosky?
Yes, motion adopted 4-0. Thank you, Lene. 10, action item 10, revised board policy 5145.7, sexual harassment. Unless we have discussion on this. The 10, 11, and 12 came out of the subcommittee reviewed by General Legal Counsel, just to give a general overlay on this. Unless we have discussion on this, do I have a motion a second? Yeah.
These are all in response to the upcoming FPM, is that
Yes.
correct? Okay.
The federal audit, yep.
Yes. Can we vote on them all at once?
Yeah,
we
we
have to do
can, I
this.
think it's called an omnibus motion where we can vote on these three all at once. In fact, yes, so items 10 through 12, do I have a motion?
Moved.
Moved by Mr. Schwartz,
Second?
seconded by Mrs. Barclay. Lene?
Barclay?
Yes.
Schwartz?
Yes.
Wiersma?
Yes.
Komrosky?
Yes, motion adopted 4-0. 10, 11, and 12 passed through. Now we're on to information and reports with the wonderful Nicole Ash that's going to break down 2023 California Dashboard Mid-Year Local Control Accountability Plan, LCAP, and LCAP Budget Overview for Parents.
You gave me way too much credit. I'm going to introduce our amazing
Lisa.
accountability and assessment director, Mrs. Lisa Brown.
Go.
Okay, am I on? Good evening. Today I am here to give a mid-year LCAP review, but also look at some of our metrics that are included within our LCAP. SB 114 mandates this year for the first time that we give you, the governing board, a report on LCAP and kind of where we are fiscally as we stand through interim 1. And so we have to do this on or before February 28th. Lene, am I working? Guess if you turn it on, it helps. So tonight, we're going to look at one of our metrics. The metric that we chose to look at tonight is our dashboard. We do have to provide the governing board with all of our metrics that are in LCAP. You can get that by clicking the green button there on the screen. You can also get to our dashboard website there, as well as our CASP data. There are about 35 pages of metrics included in our LCAP, so it was a pretty cumbersome and heavy lift, but they're there for your review. The very first data point that I kind of...
Can I ask a question before we start? Are you going page by page that is in sync with that PowerPoint so that I don't need to look at this right
Yes.
now? Okay, perfect.
So the very first thing that we wanted to look at was our CASP data. Our CASP data came out in early August, September. It was published. We still are the top performing district in the county in all academic areas.
And we are outperforming both the county and the state as a whole. So that is great for Temecula. Huge accomplishment, not only for our students, but also our teachers. As we look at the dashboard is really an internal reflection. So our CASP scores really can be compared to any CASP scores in the state. You could go school by school and kind of compare where we fall. The dashboard itself is an internal reflection. So how did we do in the 21-22 school year in compared to the 22-23 school year? And what kind of change did we have in our data? So last year, you'll see the college and career indicator there was a graph. We had all status last year, and we had a bunch of graphs that I presented to you, I believe at the January meeting last year. But this year, we are looking at our state indicators being assigned a color. So you can see the red through blue, and each of those state indicators is going to get assigned based on a 5x5 grid, and we're going to take a look at those tonight. Our local indicators are presented to you at the adoption of the LCAP in June, and those are really an internal reflection on how we think we are doing as a district on those 5 indicators and whether we met standard or didn't meet standard. I'm happy to report that we met standard in all of those areas. So if we're looking at our dashboard data, since this is the first time this board has seen the 5x5 grids, we are going to get a performance level in a color, red through blue. We're going to see our status data. How far above or below are we from standard met, which is a baseline for a 3 on the CASP? And how far did we change from one year to the next? So the 2022 data to the 2023 data. And then we're going to get an equity report. How do our student groups align in the dashboard, and in what color band do they fall? You can see all the student groups listed there. It's important to note that on the dashboard, 30 or more students will get you a color as well as all of the data, but less than 30 students doesn't get you a color. And that's just because 30 is a small group of students. The state wants to ensure that we're not being held accountable for such like a small portion. But we do get the data so we can look at it. And then less than 11 students, we're not held accountable and we don't get the data. And that's really to protect like the student identity. That's a small group. Now, I'm going to report out the district data. So we have more than 30 students in each one of these categories. But at the site level, every site gets a dashboard as well, and those rules may apply. So these are how the colors are determined. Each of the state indicators gets a 5x5 grid. You'll see that the y-axis, the vertical axis, there's 5 up and 5 across, hence the 5x5. The y-axis is our current year's data. How did we perform in 2023? The x-axis is what was the change, positive or negative, from the 2022 dashboard to the 2023 dashboard. Red is the lowest performance indicator or the group that maybe had the lowest amount of growth, and blue is the highest performance indicator or had the most amount of growth. And you'll see that as we move through. So the first thing that we come to is our language arts. Our student group, we had 62, nearly 63% of our students meet or exceed standards. That means they achieved a 3 or a 4 on the CASP. This averages out to be 24 points above the minimum to get a 3, and that would be our all student population. This is what the state considers a maintenance or a maintain. So anything 5 plus or 5 below is in the maintenance category, and then you'll see increases and decreases from there. On the chart, you can see all of our student populations and how far from standards met they may be above or below the axis. So the next one is math. Again, you can see that as a whole, we are green. We had nearly 47% of our students meet or exceed standards. We had a 5.2% increase in math, which is great. And you can see where our student populations fell on the continuum. Our next state indicator is our English learner progress. So we had 51% of our students making proficiency towards our English language. So this is our ELs. We had roughly 1,100 EL students take the LPAC last year. So this is the summative LPAC that happens in the spring. So we maintained our level from last year. And this was, you can kind of see that yellow indicates maintenance. Graduation rate, we graduated nearly 94% of our seniors last year, which is a huge feat. And you can kind of see that this is a slight decrease. Some of this is because there were a lot of leniencies given to graduation during COVID, and those leniencies kind of fell off. And so that's kind of the differential there. It's important to note that just because a senior doesn't count in our graduation rate doesn't mean that they're not leaving with a certificate of completion for some of our special education kids or some of our students at our continuation high school, or that they're not going into a 5th year as a senior, and then if they graduate in that 5th year, they would be counted in next year's data. So there's some nuances here. And then chronic absenteeism. Overall, we had a chronic absenteeism rate that declined by nearly 5%. This is great. This is what we want. This is an indicator you actually want to decline in. Our schools have done a lot to ensure that students are in class, and we continue this mission. Right now, as a district, we're sitting at about a 15% chronic absenteeism rate. So if that holds, we'll decline yet again by nearly 7 percentage points, 7 percentage points. And we're doing a lot to support schools as they're working through ensuring that students are arriving to school every single day and that they're ready to learn. Suspension rate was in the orange last year. We suspended less than 3% of our students as a whole. I mean, there was a slight increase of just about a 0.5 percentage point, but the year before, we were coming back off of COVID, and so there wasn't a whole lot of suspension taking place. There also wasn't a whole lot of student behavior. So we saw a slight uptick from one year to the next, but really this was like a minimal increase. And then our college and career indicator. So there are many metrics that go into this one particular indicator. How many students completed A through G requirements? How many students got a 3 or a 4 on an IB or AP test? How many students got a college credit or a combination thereof? So 62% of our students met one of those criteria. And you can kind of see where our student groups fell on the continuum. This was not a metric that was reported on the 22 dashboard, which is why you're getting a status indicator instead of a colored indicator. So next year, we can expect to see one of those colors. And then what does this all mean? So this is just one of the metrics that the district looks at on a regular basis. It comes out yearly, but we want to talk about our through line, especially as it relates to the LCAP. And we want to make sure that we're looking at our successes, our challenges, where are the gaps for opportunities and performance, how are we getting educational partner engagement and input, do our goals and actions align, and are we using our funds appropriately, with it all centered back at the student desk? How are we supporting students? So our 23-24 LCAP, remember that the LCAP is a tool to set goals, plan actions, and leverage our resources to close and improve student outcomes. We want to be looking at our unduplicated students, our foster youth, our socioeconomic disadvantaged, our English learners, and then in the next coming LCAP, we'll be looking at our long-term English learners, which is students who have been an EL student for more than 5 years. And then as of right now, we have 3 goals: to refine instructional opportunities, respond to diverse needs of students, and reach community and family members. So currently, we have an LCAP that was adopted by you guys in June. It's roughly $20 million. We did have a little bit of carryover, and you can see where the actions and services fall as it relates to the different bands within our grade levels, so our K-5, our middle school, our high school, and then district-wide services, and how much we've spent through interim 1. So we're projected to spend roughly $17.5 million. There is a little bit of leeway there. We do have to take into consideration all the pay increases that were given to both certificated and classified tonight, well deserved. And so we'll be budgeting out for those as well for the remainder of the year, and then looking to see what our carryover or our balance is. And then what are the updates for the next LCAP cycle? So we are about to begin the next 3-year cycle of the LCAP starting next year. There are some very strategic nuances to the new LCAP. So actions and services need to make sure that we are addressing the needs of all students. This includes not only our unduplicated students, which was listed in that slide, but any student group that fell into the red on the dashboard at the district and or site level. So we'll be taking a look at all site dashboards and making sure that we're addressing the needs of our students. We have to look at the last 3-year cycle and determine the effectiveness of our current actions and services. And if they are effective, we can move forward with keeping some of those. If they're deemed ineffective, then we may have to look at making a slight change or update to the service and how it's going to better the outcome in the future. And then actions and services must be directly measurable and tied to a specific metric. So for every action and service that we offer within LCAP, we're gonna have to identify a metrics that we're gonna use specifically for that action and service to deem its effectiveness in the future. So what's the timeline for LCAP? In December and January, we did send an LCAP survey to all educational partners through a variety of community connections and a direct link or email to all parents and teachers. That closed in January. We are currently in the process of garnering feedback from all of our educational partner committees. We did put together this exact presentation for every single school site with their data in it so they can do this exact presentation with their committees at their schools. Once we garner all that feedback, we will be writing the LCAP and posting it for public review and then bringing it forward to the board in June for your consideration and adoption. These are all the educational partner committees that we're going to be looking at. So we are currently meeting with school sites, so they in turn can meet with their community advisory partners or their school site councils and their ELACs, and then we will be meeting with those same district level committees as well. And then last but not least, each one of those committees will have a chance to give their input and insights to us as a district so that we can take it and write the LCAP. So they have a survey link here for their committees to take right then and there. And then with that being said, like every good organization, we know we have room for growth. And we want to continue to do right by the students and the teachers here in Temecula by ensuring that our actions and services in LCAP align to the students' needs. So taking this, with taking our teacher input, we hope to bring you guys a really well-rounded LCAP in June. With that, I guess we'll take any questions.
Yeah, if I could, at CSBA, we had a whole presentation on the LCAP process, and according to what they were saying, the paperwork that's going to be involved is ridiculous. Have you gotten a taste of what you guys are in for yet?
We have. The templates have been approved by the State Board of Education. I believe they were approved in December, or late November, early December. And so the template is always pretty cumbersome, if I may say. And so this one is equally as cumbersome.
So it was really interesting for me to look at all of the different schools and to read the summaries and look at the CASP scores. When you see different schools, I tried to kind of compare middle schools, elementary, and then high school. When you kind of see leaders, or all of our schools are doing well, but you might see one doing exceptionally well and improving in science or math. Is there then a collaborative effort to kind of analyze, what that particular school is doing? Because I know Alamos in my area, looking at 70%, 58 math, science 50%, I was just impressed and thought, then how does that information and knowledge get shared if there's something that would be helpful?
Yeah, so there's lots of ways that our principals get to share what they're doing on their school site. We have horizontal leadership meetings for each of the grade level bands where we do talk through this specific data. We share ideas, what's working well. Also, we have a lot of specialists that are embedded in LCAP. So what's going well with our specialists? What's working? What trends are we seeing at a school site? Why would one school site maybe get more traction than another? And then how do we duplicate that? And there's lots of nuances to the data, right? And there's lots of nuances to student populations that might be housed at one school site that are not housed at another. So there's lots of different pieces to the data when you look at it.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm curious, harkening back to one of my former colleagues who used to love to ask this question, what would you say, in looking at all the data, do you feel like are the greatest successes that you saw in the district? What are you most proud of? And then where do you see the most opportunity for improvement? I know it's a big question.
It's a loaded question.
I know. I'm just so curious because, when you look at, like you're saying, each individual school, there's so many different nuances depending on population and different things. So was there anything that kind of jumped out when you all saw the data all together that you were particularly excited about or impressed with?
I would say that our math data as a whole was a win for Temecula. We've been putting a lot of effort into working with our math specialists, giving our teachers some strategic math instructional practices to really make math more visible in the classroom and to provide that level of rigor. And so I would say to see that translate into our scores was a huge accomplishment for the teachers who are in the classroom every single day, for the instructional leaders that are providing that training, for the principals who are championing that at their school sites. I would say, our SEL support for school sites continues to be a shining light in Temecula. The amount of support that we give students for behavior and social emotional needs is unmatched, really. The drop in chronic absenteeism data that we saw was pretty significant. I mean, some of our school sites dropped by nearly 10 percentage points, which is huge. That's a kudos to those school sites. And we're working with some unique challenges when it comes to chronic absenteeism that we've never really had to tease out, like in the past. And so I think that's a shining light. All of our coaches that are providing instruction at all of the different levels and really giving teachers tools to kind of come out of COVID and think about learning and engagement differently is a huge shining light. And then the last kind of star that I kind of want to hang our hat on is our inquiry cycles that we're dealing with, or that we're working through at each site level. So the site's really looking at their own data, picking an area of focus, and then really working through what does it take to deliver quality instruction in that area and move kids from one level to the next, including our high kids who still need to continue to make progress in that year's worth of growth. So those are some of the things that, just off the top of my head, I think, and I'm sure I missed some, so I'm sorry, community, that kind of stand out to me. If you're looking for an area of growth, I would say that our language arts scores as a whole the last few years haven't really, they've kind of maintained. We've kind of maintained. And that's great. Coming out of COVID to maintain where we were, that's a great metric to look at. But how can we do better by our students? And I think that's what we're always asking ourselves as a principal. That's what I always ask myself sitting behind that desk. Like, how can I do better by the students that I have right here, right now? And I think that's what every teacher asks themselves every single day. So we definitely still have areas of improvement, but like any great organization, we are always striving for better.
It seems like I read a CSBA email that said specifically what a difference it makes when parents step in and encourage the reading. So I would say it would be easy to pivot and put it on families and parents to say, hey, you know, take the phone and the electronics that go on, because I know with my boys, when they were reading and I had the phones or we really limited the time, it's amazing how much their skills improve, their vocabulary, their spelling, their depth of understanding. I just feel like that's where we can do better, but it's families, right, that need to set the parameters.
And just to finish that off, I was just going to say that thanks for sharing those, because whenever I go to school sites, I've seen all of those things you're talking about. The last couple times I went, I saw so much fun math. The kids were super excited. The teachers were using such engaging techniques with the kids, things I never even saw with my kids when they were in elementary school. And the kids were super excited about math, which doesn't tend to be what you normally see. Kids don't usually say math is their favorite, but they were very excited. And I do think that what I see with the social workers in the schools, I mean, what we always have to remember is if kids aren't having their basic needs met, it's really hard to learn. So if they're coming to school and they're worried or they're anxious or they didn't have breakfast or there was maybe some contention in the home, it's going to be really hard for them to read or do math or do anything. So having those extra supports really does support our academics. And I think that's what we're seeing, like you're saying, with all of those extra supports, that directly supports academics. So great job. Thank you for sharing that. And thanks for answering that on the spot.
I want to say thank you for the handout, especially as I dive deeper into the iReady scores. This helps to have, a written copy, and Allison took most of what I wanted to say, but especially the math when I visited. I know, but I'm glad I get to go last. I just say thank you. When I visited the school sites for the last year, I was especially impressed by the math specialists that come in, get them into groups, stand them up, go. And I never wanted to leave the classroom. So I'm glad to see that that had an impact, and just, thank you for presenting. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, I just wanted to add, I sat in on one of the math workshops that you were doing at the district, and then Dr. Woods and I were at Temecula, Jackson, and then at Tony Tobin. And the thing that they were doing in the workshop, error correction, they had the kids doing in the classroom. And just watching them work together as a group and kind of bouncing off each other, and one saying, well, no, that's not right because that's the wrong number. And just that whole process of error correction is just a whole different way of teaching the basics of math, but it's in a fun way, and the kids really all seem to get it. And it was great because we saw it in every school we visited. So whatever the effect of what was going on in the workshops with the principals and the teachers was carried over into the schools. And that's a really important part of this whole LCAP thing. It's one thing to tell people, give them practice and give them strategies, but if they don't put it into practice, there's no benefit from it, but to see it in practice is something really good. Thank you, Lisa.
Yeah, and you know, Mr. Schwartz, you just triggered a memory that I had. If I visited 2 elementary schools in one day and 2 of them were 3rd grade classrooms focused on math, they'd be doing pretty much the same at all, you know, throughout the district. And that systematic approach that the district has is really impressive to get the scores up collectively all around. It's really fun to see that.
And Lisa, I want to congratulate you. Thank you for that presentation. Great job. And yes, on our site visits, we're seeing evidence that kids are serious, they're coming to school prepared, parents are committed. We have teachers and classified staff that are just knocking it out of the park, and we have administrators in the background doing everything they've got to do. It's just a fabulous school system, and I'm so, so proud to be here. Great job.
And I believe Mrs. Lash is up next. No, not this. Oh, got it. Correct me if I'm wrong then. Parental notifications, 5020.01, and I believe we have a public comment on this? 2, okay. 3 minutes each.
First up is Christine Massa, followed by Shaylin Gates.
Hello again. When Mrs. Wiersma, Dr. Komrosky, and the other guy approved this policy, it was very clear how little you actually care about student safety, security, and wellness. I'm not sure the reason why a community member put this back on the agenda. It seems like we're going to hear from her in just a minute here. But I hope it's because another county's legal system has already ruled this unconstitutional, which I believe means it's invalid everywhere. Can we just invalidate the August action, admit you didn't think it through, didn't realize how much harm it could bring to kids, and for once, have the 2 conservatively aligned board members do the truly loving and Christ-like thing? I will always support trans students to let you know people love you no matter what, and if it's not your parents, I'm sorry, but I hope that you'll find the concept of chosen family. Thank you.
Shaylin?
Hi, guys. All right. So, to some people's much dismay, I'm not going to talk about transgenders or anything of that sort. Thanks for the opportunity to discuss this item tonight. This item addresses the topic of information, specifically the information shared between schools. Sorry, let me take a breath. And parents regarding safety on campus. Over the course of our son's first semester in middle school, several instances regarding campus safety have arisen, and I've been left feeling like I could have used a little bit more information. For example, when our school campus is experiencing a high rate of violent acts in the boys' restroom, I would like to be quickly notified. Or say my child alerts his teacher to pink pills that he found outside of his classroom, I would like the teacher and school administrators to let me know about it. Or perhaps there is an altercation on campus where police and ambulance need to respond and are visible to the public. I would like to know about that as well. I guess you can reasonably assume that I want to know it all. However, I realize that wanting and receiving are 2 totally different things. I found myself with 2 questions. Number 1, who determines which information is shared with parents? And number 2, what information is the school legally responsible to share? After researching the topic, it seems that the answers to my questions are still quite vague. So, in an effort to turn an obstacle into an opportunity, I drafted this item. My item suggests that school sites should be held responsible for relaying information of student safety and wellness to parents. What this might look like would be email alerts of campus violence, drug activity, canine searches in the rooms, emergencies, or other occurrences that parents should know about and can talk with our kids about. Making sure that the parties involved can stay anonymous as well. Names aren't needed. You see, our ability as parents to prepare our children to navigate the world around them is directly impacted by the amount of information we receive. If we don't know that there is a greater risk of being assaulted in the restrooms, then how are we to prepare our children on what to do if they find themselves in that situation? It's essentially like a teacher announcing a test on Friday and handing the students an entire textbook to study from. Without the details of what topics to study or where to find the answers, we end up wasting a lot of valuable time. Essentially, I'm asking for help. I would like clear and concise accounts of safety-related events that occur at school while my children are in the care of TVUSD. I'm willing to bet that there are several other parents who would appreciate this information as well. Let's truly come together as parents and administration to protect our children. Thank you.
Thank you. On this one, I remember in the first parental notification policy, I had a few items on there. They didn't go through, and but I'm in agreement with 1 through 3 here. And we don't have to act or do anything tonight, but my thought is to get consensus on the board to have Huff draft up, if we were to make changes at the next meeting, if he drafts that language and we bring it back to look at it, what it would look like if we add these 3. That being said, Dr. Woods, do we currently have district policies that are already in force 1 through 3? Oh, yeah, that's right. They don't have what I'll read it specifically. Sorry. 1, incidents of bullying and and violence on campus. This is what she was referring to, what she wants added. Sorry. Forget the whole public doesn't have this. So number 1, incidents of bullying and violence on campus. 2, police activity on campus. 3, drug activity on campus. And my thought is if we get consensus from the board, these to me are pretty easy for me to want to adopt, as well as what we already have. And we could have Huff draft up those changes and what they would look like, and we can consider them next board meeting. So I'm in favor of that, to see what the board says. But then on top of that, do we already have district policy that covers this without having to adopt it? So
What we normally do is we would have Mr. Huff look at what we currently have in policy and then make some recommendations and come back to the board and work it through. We also could consider administrative regulations too to govern some of this.
Well, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but we don't need Mr. Huff to tell us what's in our current policy. I mean, our directors could do that, right?
Yeah,
So we don't need to pay an attorney to do that. So I think we should probably put it back to our directors and then maybe have them come in a Friday recap and give us some information before we bring it back onto a board agenda or use an attorney.
yeah, but using an attorney would look through the parental notification policy we already have to add this, because it's being brought up under that very notification policy.
But you just said that there might already be policies on that?
That's right. That's right. But
So
either way,
if we just start from the beginning and let our directors inform us about what do we already have that's in line with these requests, then we can go from there and see what we might be missing or what we might want to consider and what's,
Right.
best practice.
Yeah.
So
So that's my suggestion. I would not be in favor of asking the attorney right now. Let's go back to the directors and start there and see what we already have so that we can just make sure it all lines up.
right, but I hear what you're saying, and the more robust option is to do both, because if the directors say, no, this would be a good idea, then we're at the board meeting now, we can give direction for that in case we need it. It's an option. If we don't, we don't. That's all.
I would suggest that I would love to sit down with Jason and maybe Nicole and the superintendent and look through what we have now. I know periodically I will get an email from Lene about something that's going on, like when we had the thing at Great Oak with the chemical spill at the pool, we were all notified. Sometimes we'll get a notification of something going on. There are issues of, and I understand what you were saying, ma'am. There are issues of privacy and confidentiality. For example, let's say there's some drug activity at a school. That's something that has to be investigated and determined whether there's truth or not. We don't want to get information out there that may not be true. So I think we have to be really cautious about saying there's bullying going on at school X. That could be a rumor. That could be one incident. So I would be in favor of, as I said, sitting with Jason and Nicole and the superintendent, looking through what we have already and coming back with some suggestions and then going from there.
We can do that. We already have a subcommittee for that we voted on, which is myself and Mrs. Wiersma, and general legal counsel with the superintendent if we need. So that's already been established in a subcommittee. And this would be a subcommittee issue if it's a revision of policy.
I think we need to go let the directors report back to us what we already have before we even go to subcommittee. Just start from the beginning. So we know, what are our policies on, like Steve is mentioning, definitely we want to keep parents updated. Believe me, I have a kid at the school. I do want to know what is going on, of course. But, there's a lot of information that's confidential. We don't want to start a panic. We don't want to accuse someone before it's been proven. So I think there's a lot of gray areas that we have to look at. So I'd be in favor of having the directors come back to us with a report before we make any further, before we spend money with an attorney.
So we can have the directors and the superintendent, because the superintendent, just to be clear, you mentioned
Yes,
right
that
off from
sounds
the
great.
beginning that you didn't agree that the superintendent was involved, and I highly disagree.
Well, I didn't mention him specifically, but yes, directors and superintendent.
Okay,
Cabinet, let's say cabinet.
so I can agree with that, because in the next board meeting, we can bring this on again, and they can update us. Okay, sweet, and then Ms. Worsman, do you have anything to
I
add?
think that makes sense. If it's a layered approach, we can start there with the suggestion and then report to subcommittee and then bring it back as needed. So
Okay.
we can do it
And-
all.
Yeah, and maybe we could get it in a Friday memo, because then we have it in writing. That's really helpful. Yeah.
Yep, good ideas. All right, there's a direction for the board, and now we have budget update with Ms. Lash. What I was trying to tell you is I was mistaken on the first one. I saw the word budget on number 1. Well, that's Ms. Lash. It's number 3. So I got a crossfire there with Mrs. Brown and Ms. Lash. What's up? You got one? Oh,
My fiscal friends over here, I will take them down.
okay. Thanks for the handout.
I'll be done by the time you come back, Mrs. Barclay.
No.
I'll talk slow. No, it seems like I was just here, and that's because I was. Just a month ago, I gave a budget update, our first interim report, and some things happened. Just last week, the governor announced the budget for 2024-25, and you can see on the first slide. What's that, Mr. Schwartz? And you can see on the first slide that the theme is there are rain clouds ahead of us. So we're going to talk about, there's a lot of things being said out there about the COLA and the governor's budget, and I just want to make sure that the board is aware, staff and the community are aware of what does that mean specifically to TVUSD. So I'll be brief, I promise. So the upside of what we heard last week from the governor's proposal, and remember this is his just initial proposal right out the gate. There's a lot of back and forth between him and the legislature from now until the actual adopted budget, which happens in June. It has to be done by July 1st. And there will be a May revision. So, but what we've heard for last week, upside, no proposed mid-year cuts. So he is not proposing to do anything for 23-24. He's planning to solve all of the issues moving forward. Although towards the end of his conference, he threw out there, if the legislature wants to bring up mid-year cuts, I'm open to discussion, which I wasn't overly thrilled to hear, but it's not part of his proposal. Second, there are no proposed cash deferrals, which is good news. There are no cuts to special funding programs, such as the Arts, Music, and Instructional Materials Block Grant and other categorical funds that he proposed initially. And then the best news that I heard is no one is using the R word yet. The word recession is not being said. There is no recession being predicted. It's being called a slight dip in the economy, but no one is predicting a recession at this point. So lots of good things. The downside, there was a significant reduction to LCFF. And that is our bread and butter. I refer to it as such many times. So it probably would have benefited TVUSD specifically if we would have had cuts to categorical programs instead of LCFF, just because we're not the beneficiaries of most of those programs. So we'll look and see what on the next slides what that means to TVUSD, that reduction. The other downside is he drew down those rainy day funds significantly. So the state had its own set of rainy day funds. Starting off this year, or as of right now, those rainy day funds at the state level are $8.4 billion. By next year, that will be more than cut in half, down to $3.8 billion. And the reason why I said the downside is that's a one-time solution. You can only draw down those funds once and then they're gone. So once you start spending your savings account, you're gonna have to come up with a new way to solve fiscal issues if things turn out worse than we're predicting. So, LCFF. Just last month, I was here with the COLA of 3.94 projected for next year, 3.29 the following year, and 3.19 in 26-27. The initial proposal as of last week for 24-25 is even less than the two scenarios I ran last month. Remember I said, well, if it's 2%, it'll look like this. If it's 1%, it'll look like this. We thought it would fall somewhere in between. It fell below both of those numbers at 0.76%. What that means is a reduction of $9.6 million approximately to TVUSD next year. That is making an assumption of what enrollment's going to look like, what our unduplicated pupil percentage will be, but as of right now, that's a reduction of 9.5 or 9.6 million approximately. The reduction of the COLA for 25-26, although it seems slight, is another, and it's compounding, remember, because the way that LCFF works is what did you get last year, and then it gives you a little bit more. So it's that same 9.5 million that we still won't get in 25-26, and then some. So it's a reduction of 11.6 million for 25-26 and 12.3 million for 26-27. So cumulative over the next 3 years, we'll be receiving $33.5 million less than we projected. Okay, so when I say it's a significant reduction, it is a significant reduction. So what does that look like in our multi-year projections? And I've said this many times, we are not hitting the panic button. We've done a very good job of building our own rainy day funds, so that way when a dip in the economy came, we would be able to ease into it slowly. So I'll just remind you, last month, these are the numbers that we projected. The ending fund balance, you can see down across the bottom, 137 million, 126 million, 123 million. The numbers below that is our rainy day funds, right? And we said we were intentionally spending down those rainy day funds because they were accumulating significantly. And so by 25-26, we were projected to have a balanced budget and have an ending fund balance of about $40 million. So if we plug in those new revenues, I highlighted in red all the numbers that changed. So the LCFF revenue up at the top. The change in fund balance is how much more are we spending than we're bringing in. So remember, it was 19.6, 10, and 3 on the previous slide, and now it goes to 19.6, 20, and 15. So our rainy day funds in a couple years will be down to 22 million, and if I brought this multi-year projection out one more year, by 26-27, our savings account or our rainy day fund would be down to $5 million. If we do nothing, if we change nothing, if we stay the course, and if all things hold constant, so no COLA changes, if all of these COLAs come to fruition and the district makes no changes. But we know that's not what's going to happen. We know the rainy day is here, and we've said we're going to adjust accordingly. So from now until we hear more information in May, so May is the governor's revised budget. That's by then he will have all of the April taxes collected, except for those that extend, obviously, but the extension is always just for payment, not for filing. So by May, we will have that revenue collection and we'll have a better idea truly of what we will be able to afford in 24-25. So at that point in time, we'll come back and we'll have revised numbers, but until then, we're not going to wait to do something about it. We know we've got a hill to climb and we're gonna climb it together. So in an effort to maintain existing programs, because that's really going to be our goal. Whenever a dip in the economy comes, we wanna say, how do we, I mean, we just heard a beautiful presentation from Mrs. Brown, and we're thriving and our students are doing well. And our goal is, how do we maintain what we're doing? And we often say, how do we keep cuts away from the classroom? But at the end of the day, every reduction impacts the classroom in some way or another. So In an effort to maintain what we have, we're going to avoid new spending commitments. So we've already got budgeted expenditures. We're not going to try to increase or expand that budget unless we have to. So that's number one. Number two, we're going to maximize our existing resources, and I said this a month ago. So we're gonna look to how do we continue to do what we've been planning on doing, but maybe spend our more restrictive dollars to do it. So I mentioned, for example, that arts, music, and instructional material block grant. It's very unrestricted. Could we use that money to pay for some of the things that we already know we're doing, let's say the off schedule, and that way we're not cutting anything, but we're relieving the unrestricted general fund by doing so. We also have a learning recovery block grant that we could turn to. So there's lots of ways that, and conversations that we're having of how do we still do what we're doing, but maybe shift funds around or do it a little bit differently, so that way we can start reducing our impact on the unrestricted general fund. And we've already started having those conversations with our cabinet level members, staff, and we will be taking that to the sites as well. And then we'll be reviewing existing expenditures. Do we really have to do this thing, and do we have to do it as much as we're doing it? So first thing that we usually look at is travel and conference. That's an easy one where we say maybe we skip this year and see, and we'll catch it next year. Is there an online option? Can we send less people and they bring back the information? Little things like that that we can make easy reductions now to save costs up front. And then the last thing is every single vacancy we will evaluate to say, do we have to fill this? Do we have to fill this now? And so all of these little things really can have a huge impact at the end of the day on the overall budget. And the sooner we start making these decisions, if things come in worse in May or next year, we will be that much better off to avoid reductions in force, which is our ultimate goal. Okay, and with that, I'll take questions if you have any.
Thank you.
It's quiet. I listened to the CSBA breakdown on the budget this past week. Really interesting. They kind of talked about different areas that would be affected, whether it was monies for UPK. They talked about buses because the governor's got this goal for electric buses, right? And it was like in the billions, and then he dropped it. I'm assuming we wouldn't be a district that would apply for a grant in that area, right? Because they were talking about that aspect, and I'm always running it through our grid. But I'm assuming
So
no?
the good news is that we actually have applied for a grant for 2 electric buses that we've already been granted. We actually purchased or ordered the buses a year ago. One of them has come in. The other one is still being manufactured. So we are taking advantage of those types of things when we qualify. The hardest part with electric buses is charging them and how long those charges last. So it's great for around town transportation, but if a student needs to go to a playoff game or to Disneyland or Knott's Berry Farm, an electric bus isn't going to get you there. So we can't use it for field trip purposes. It's just around town. And the other piece is the infrastructure required, which we are installing to charge those electric buses. But it's not like where you can just stop and get gas nicely like you can in a gasoline bus. So.
the discussion was that by 2035, all they're going to sell are the electric. So I was like, is that something that we factor in as we look at the trajectory long term?
Yeah.
It's just interesting. You could even see the CSBA people like, oh.
I know.
You know,
We're
trying
like
to be
salvaging
positive,
all of those old buses for as long as we can
Yeah.
because we don't know how we'll accomplish some of these field trips if we're all electric.
Right, right. And that brings me to a question about the buses for field trips. I know I've had a student or two reach out and say, is there anything that we can do to kind of lower costs and so forth? And there was a wonderful email that one of our staff wrote back and kind of explained all the particulars. But would there be anything you would say to students? Because we're looking at tightening the belt. We want to continue to give to students and find those areas to help them. But with the buses, I wasn't quite sure what to say.
So the best thing that we can say to our students is if it competes, if you're going somewhere that transportation is required that competes with drop off at school or taking students home, we're going to have to then charter out that bus, and that's when it gets really expensive. So if we can plan field trips in the middle of the day, that maximizes our resources. We've got lots of bus drivers in the middle of the day, or even long enough after school or on the weekends, those types of things, then you're not competing with home-to-school transportation. So the second that you start competing with home-to-school transportation is when we have to contract out that work. And then that gets really expensive, and we're just at the mercy of whichever charter company can pick it up and whatever they want to charge us for that.
Do we work with Hemet Unified or any of the others?
Yep.
We do, right? So
Absolutely.
Because I work for a charter and I know exactly what you're talking about, trying to figure out the best pricing. So.
And we have the benefit, our director of transportation used to be the assistant director of transportation in Hemet. So he's got a lot of contacts over there, and I think he utilizes those contacts as much as possible. So that way we can transport kids, but the cost, the second it's not our cost, it's really out of our control.
Right, okay, thank you.
No problem.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Lash. Thank you. Okay, now we're on to Q, negotiations update.
Just a brief update, Dr. Komrosky. We have some subcommittee meetings planned with TVA to discuss some pending topics, and we'll be working with TVA to bargain the successor agreement articles that were approved as part of the sunshine process tonight. With CSEA, we have a labor management meeting coming up next week. We'd like to thank CSEA and the district's bargaining teams for your work in reaching a compensation agreement. And that's it for me, Dr. Komrosky. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Arce. Okay, now we're on to board comments. Somebody wants to, yeah, Mr. Schwartz.
Yeah, I'll be brief. I had several really good school visits with our new superintendent, Tony Tobin, Red Hawk, and Jackson. Saw some amazing things going on, as I commented before, when Lisa was doing her performance. It was great to see that, and as Dr. Komrosky commented, the stuff that people were getting in workshops was being done in every school, and it was so nice to see that the programs are actually going on and working, and the kids are so involved. I also had the chance to go to TVHS for their capstone in computer design graphics, which was an amazing program. Some of the kids came up with these products and ideas that are like, you could sell that now to industry. One of the things that I learned, you're not supposed to keep your computer plugged into charge all the time, because what it does is wear out the battery. So this young man designed a device that connects to your charging cord, and when your computer is charged to the maximum, it unplugs the computer automatically, and when your battery gets down to a certain level, it replugs the charger back in. You don't have to do anything. And he designed it on the computer, and he made it on the 3D printer. And I was like, you could probably sell that to Apple or somebody and make $1 million right now. So it's been really, had a very hectic personal holiday, and I'm glad it's over, and just looking for, I do want to congratulate Dr. Velez and her family on the wedding of her son, Alexander, and Rachel Velez. They're not here. They're still, I understand they couldn't get their flight back to where they're going, and he's an Air Force pilot. So I guess he could have jumped in and flown the plane, but I don't think they would let him. But I just wanted to congratulate them on that, and it was wish everyone a Happy New Year. Again, thanks to our CSEA bargaining team for successfully completing negotiations. Looking forward to a nice next semester, and thanks to all our staff for all the hard work they do. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Schwartz. Ms. Wiersma.
I just want to welcome everyone back to 2024. I hope you had a great holiday vacation. I know we did, and stepping back in, I think we've got a different kind of focus for 2024, and I want to thank those of you that shared commentary tonight, especially in regards to our crossing guards and so forth. And I would just encourage any of you out there listening, if you can volunteer, there are probably some paid positions available, but if you're also willing to step out and choose a couple days a week to volunteer with some of those people who guard the kids. I know firsthand that you're exactly right. It is very important, and heads up to the parents out there. I know that you got to slow down. We were talking earlier today how so many of the kids are doing what they need to do, but often the parents are juggling so many things, and we tend to be so stressed out that we're not driving as carefully as we could. So I just want to encourage everyone out there to consider that, because I know it'll make a difference for all of our volunteers and for keeping our kids safe. And we do hope to focus on that and talk to the guards. And I've got my yellow vest, so I hope to be out there again doing that myself. Right before break, it was a total honor to be at Chaparral for their groundbreaking ceremony for the athletic facility that'll be right on Winchester. It was neat to see the signage and just all of the love that's gone into that, and probably the blood, sweat, and tears. Shout out to Amber Perez, Nicole Lash, Tina Miller, Neff, and all the facility crews at TVUSD. It was fun to see the SHAP cheerleaders just celebrating that day, and I know that campus has so much to look forward to with those new facilities, so I'm excited for our Pumas. I'm looking forward to also a menagerie of visits with our new superintendent in February. So it'll be fun to visit the school sites again, just to say hello, encourage our teachers, our students, and just be part of a brand new year. I feel like there's always a lot of hope when we turn the new year. So I do also want to thank the families out there who are helping me look into maybe some different apprentice opportunities for TVUSD. We have great CTE programs, and one thing that I did is I kind of looked at the different schools and how many they have. It's super impressive. And then as I read the list, I thought, you know, when I went to the CSBA conference and talked to somebody in carpentry or some other area, they're very excited and anxious to work with our students, because there are those jobs out there that aren't necessarily fulfilled by a four-year degree, and we need to balance both of them and make sure our students have those opportunities. So I have parents working with me to try to explore that and open up those very positive doors that I think all of us will be excited about, because that's where we want to see our kids fly, is making money, paying bills, surviving in California, and just going where their purpose is. So with that, I just want to thank all of you here tonight. It's not even 8 o'clock yet, which this is something to rejoice about. I'm really thankful for this, yes. And again, I just appreciate Dr. Wood's leadership and our point of emphasis. And for those of you who have asked for some new things from us this year, just know that I hear you. I'm there, and I want to be positive, and I want to listen to stakeholders and make sure that moving forward that people do point out, yep, I see some different things coming out of the board, and yep, I see you still standing for what you believe in. Yet I want people to know I'm open to listening, I have the heart to grow, and I always humbly acknowledge what an honor it is to be a trustee. Last year was tough, but I've come into this year that much more grateful, and there is joy in doing that because it is about the community. So thank you for those of you that supported me. I am grateful to be here, and I don't take that for granted. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wiersma. Ms. Barclay?
Thank you. Yes, Happy New Year. So excited, start of 2024 and all new things. A board meeting ending before 8 p.m. Imagine that. Everything pretty chill. It's exciting. My doctor will be so pleased. My blood pressure will be a little bit more normal. Excited. I also attended the groundbreaking for the Chaparral Gymnasium. Very exciting. The whole athletic facility is going to be awesome. I just wanted to give some recognition for that, because that was done, you know, in the last few years. And Mrs. Hinkson, Mr. Skumowitz, and Mrs. Broche were super instrumental, our former board members, in making that happen. So huge shout out to them for all their hard work. They were very dedicated to that project. And it was so fun to see the ASB students here again, and good job, Puma Pit, #1 in the nation. That's amazing. And I just want to recognize Mrs. DeLeon over there at Chaparral, the new ASB advisor. She has worked very, very hard this year, and I know she has put a ton of time into making that happen. So just wanted to tell her, great job. I was able to attend a couple of events. The basketball game at Great Oak versus TV. What a good game. The SHAP TV game was awesome. The Great Oak TV game was awesome. I won't say who won, but go Bears. So we'll see. There'll be some more rematches. I'll be there. but they were really great games. It's so fun to watch the kids out there just giving their all. And the student section, they're so impressive at all of the schools. It's so great. The kids are really showing their school spirit this year. I got to go to the TV Winter Rally, and there might be one student who that was her job that she put it on that might be related to me, and she did a fantastic job, and it was really fun, but super cute to see all the kids out there, again, supporting and just getting that school spirit going for 2024. I attended a community event, which it's not related to school board, but it is here in our community, the powwow over at Pechanga. It was amazing. If you've never had a chance to attend the powwow there, it's one of the largest, I think I don't even want to say, but it's very large. There are people from all over the country, Canada, everywhere. And it is, there's just no words when you attend and you see the grand entrance. They do that several times where they bring in all the dancers together. And it's just a very emotional experience watching all of the tribes, all of the different types of dancers, all there together in unity. So I would really encourage, it's every January. I think it's the first weekend in January. We've gone the past 2 years. It's come back since COVID, and it's really amazing, something super great in our community. So I'd encourage everyone to attend that. It was very, very fun. And they have amazing things that people come in and sell, so great. And the food, amazing. So don't miss out on that. And I just want to, I am hopeful that we are moving towards a good 2024 and that we can all push forward and that we'll continue to see more positive changes within our board, that we can come together and make good decisions for our kids and for our teachers and our staff, because that's why we're here. And seeing all of those great things coming forward with our scores and our LCAP, and that we are still #1 in Riverside County, it's so impressive that despite a lot of things that have happened in this district, that our teachers and our kids are still pushing forward. So hats off to all of you who can block out some of the noise and do what's right for kids. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Barclay. Yeah, the first thing I want to say is I'm going to be brokenhearted because I can't attend Battle of the Burgers this weekend. Me and my son are going to be camping maybe next year or the next time that comes. I want to thank Jess Capernegro and Mrs. Deas for inviting me along for the student disciplinary hearings behind the scenes. I can deeply appreciate now even more what goes on behind the scenes with student disciplines. Some of it's heartbreaking, but it's eye-opening for me to see the moving parts, and that's why I had to recuse myself. But I'd like to do that more. Really helps understand the depth and the breadth and what goes into what comes before the board. Wanted to say on the top of my mind, I told a student of the month 2 months ago that I'd like to see the drama, because she was from Temecula Valley High School, so I'd like to have Dr. Woods and me maybe go attend a drama or a play there, Chaparral, Great Oak. So maybe that's something I try to do in the next couple weeks. Looking forward to that. Yes, I was with Mr. Schwartz at Tony Tobin and Temecula Valley High School. Tony Tobin, really nice atmosphere. I thoroughly was impressed by their garden, which needs to be revitalized, but it's huge, huge. Really excited for those kids. The 3D printers, wow. Schwartz said it. I was very impressed. The inventions that these kids would come up, and it's funny, like you said, they needed it. It was invention by necessity. It's not like they're just randomly making stuff up. Like one kid invented this cat puzzle because he had 2 cats, and one of his cats was like totally eating up all the food, and the other cat didn't get it. So he created a puzzle to where the cat had to work at it, couldn't eat as fast. I was like, that's pretty brilliant. Another guy invented a guitar tuner, and I play guitar where you put it on the tuner and it literally tunes your keys. I'm like, holy moly, you will be a millionaire just like that. I mean, like instantly, that could sell across the world. My favorite is the solo banana holder. This guy goes, look, you have a holder that holds your bananas, but what happens when you have 1 banana left? I'm like, I know, huh? And it was a holder for it. I was like, so it was my favorite. That thing will sell. Just, hold 1 banana. The lone banana holder, that's what it was. So thoroughly impressed. wonderful site visits. And then visiting Vale Elementary for the Apple Award that night. That was pretty fun. Yes, shout out to Dr. Velez's son, Alexander, for getting married. One thing I want to say as far as next meeting is committee signups. That wasn't on this meeting, it should have been, but we'll put that on the next meeting, like this, all the district committees that we have. So we'll do that and have sign-up sheets, and then we could have the board members next time figure out whether they want to remain on the same committee or change and go to another committee. That said, also, earlier in the year, last year, I spoke with city, and when they vote, they do a touch screen. And when all the city council members vote, it shows the results. So my thought was to reach out to the city. I have the quote, and I just got to dig it up and maybe present it to the board at the next meeting, to where when all four of us vote, it instantly goes to screen. That way I don't have to say, hey, Lene, would you mind calling roll? Just once we have a motion and a second, boom, we vote. And if we don't have a touch screen here, maybe we could use our phone, our district phones to vote on, or some iPad, but it will expedite the meetings even faster than tonight. Maybe we get out of here close to 8. So I'll bring that on. Last is the, somebody from the audience mentioned what it was wave control last meeting for $64,044. To me, it was super pricey. Those were Chaparral High School and Temecula Middle School, and it would have been hardware that you put on the outside of the building and on the inside at 3 different locations to monitor constantly. Not just a one-time monitor, but like every day. Me and Jason Osborne were there with the 2 gentlemen from ET&T when we were thinking about that, and it just seems really, really pricey for now. So that's why I recommended last board meeting that be pulled, to not be confused with ET&T, who came out to they did measurements at TMS and Chaparral High School, and Mr. Osborne, myself, and then the other 2 gentlemen from that company, Andrew, and I forget the other person's name, might have been Jordan. They did all the measurements. I will report out on that on the next meeting on information reports. So full transparency to the public. I'll make it easy. I'll give the FCC values and other values like Canada, Belgium, India, Italy, Russia, Switzerland, just so you could see the context of where we're at, where other nations are at, where our measurements are at in the high school and the middle school. So that's what was conducted, but that's separate from wave control, which we pulled. I think, yeah, that's it from, that's it for me. Pass it on to Dr. Woods.
Okay. January is typically Board Appreciation Month. Here in California, there are about 5,000 board members just like yourselves working on behalf of kids in school districts. In front of you is a certificate of appreciation, also an original artwork piece from a student. I think you can see that there. So on behalf of all of us, thank you for your time and efforts here in Temecula Valley. It hasn't gone unnoticed, and we appreciate all your enthusiasm and passion as we work this very important work. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I got it.
Oh, yes. Okay, superintendent comment, was that it? That's it. Oh, that's it. That was, okay, future agenda items. Staff will present information on the following agenda items for the next regular board meeting, February 2024. TK-12 Alt ED update, and an A through G competition improvement plan. Oh, complete, sorry. Oh, A through G completion improvement plan, okay. And then an announcement of the next meeting. The regular open session business meeting of the Governing Board of Education is scheduled for February 6, 2024. And just to let the public know, the workshop for CSBA will be held on January 30th, Tuesday, from 3:30 to 6:30. It'll be a 3-hour workshop. It's how to work with the board on appointment for trustee area 2. What's that, Mr. Ward? 3:30 to 6:30? 3:30 to 6:30? This is just my artwork. I just want to show off this outstanding artwork the student did for us. Really cool. That's cool. With that being said, the meeting is adjourned on Tuesday, January 16, 2024 at 7:59.